Hi, friends. It's us. Hi, we're back. It's me. It's Chev. It's Deku 25, aka Empire of the Elite FF. We're to break down some college football, the happenings and whatnot from night, yesterday.
Today, technically, right? I was
Yeah,
watching USC till 1 in the morning.
yeah. That's what messes me up, bro. It's like this whole the Pac-12 after dark culture here. All right. Them
I love it.
forcing us, like when USC's good, you almost feel obligated to stay up to see what happens, just so you can be in the know. Just so you can be the guy that sends a tweet out at 5 a.m. saying, like, hey, I told you Makai Lemon was him. Analytics be damned. But that's a real thing that somebody told me. It's like, I just don't like the analytics of Makai Lemon or Jacoby
Just
Brissett
watch football, man.
or
Don't overthink it.
Denzel Boston. Those guys are just guys that I'm just not. I mean, I don't really like the way that they separate. But anywho,
Are we gonna
uh,
are we gonna have that conversation right now, Chef?
I listen. I'm not. I don't want to start it off. Fuck it. Yes, let's start it
Let's
off.
do it.
Let's start it off with some high limit talk. Let's start off with USC since that's the freshest thing on everybody. Everybody who stayed awake and decided to suffer through it. Let's start with USC, brother. So that's your squad.
That's my
So
squad.
talk us through what happened last night. You guys didn't cover. Good teams win. Great teams cover. You guys didn't cover. I wanted to throw that little bit of haterade out there. Okay. But go ahead. Go off. Talk about your team.
Hey, you know what? Jacoby Lane didn't play, which is a little disappointing. But I told you before the game, I was like, we don't need him. Michigan State's defense hasn't really been that good this season. So I wasn't too concerned. But we had Makai Lemon out there, who, as you remember, Chev, in our early 2026 mock draft, I had him as a first-round candidate. And there wasn't as much buzz around him then. But, dude, he's killing it. He's got over 400 yards on the season already, 3 touchdowns. He's running over 5 yards per route run. And he's just, on the season. And look, you could look at the cupcake matchups and whatnot. I don't care. I don't care what competition you're playing, because when you isolate the all-22 and you see him running these routes, what you see, Chev, is you see a guy who's playing like Amon-Ra did at USC. He's like our zone beater. He just knows how to find the pockets in the zone and sits down. And what I love about it is yesterday was a perfect example of this. 4th and 3, Michigan State was kind of coming back, and Jaden Mayava had to make a play. And he threw it on 4th and 3 to Amon-Ra, who's just sitting in the zone, and you see him catch the ball in his hands.
Not Amon-Ra.
Sorry. I was thinking back in the day. Makai Lemon kind of reminds me of him, but yeah, Makai Lemon was sitting in the pocket of the zone, carried the ball into his chest, and then went forward to get the extra down. It's just little nuances like that show me that he's already ready to be a pro. And I think we need to start having the conversation of him being wide receiver 2 of this 2026 class.
So who would you say is the consensus wide receiver 2 right now? Because there's another guy that we're going to talk about here in a second that I feel like we need to the people need to know about. But give us who you think the perception wide receiver 2 is by perception. Good Lord, that was rough to get out, guys. All right,
I was calling Makai Amon-Ra already. So look, it's early. We got our coffee out, right? Energy drinks ready. But consensus wide receiver 2, I would say definitely is Carnell Tate from Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Look, he hasn't put up gaudy numbers on the season, but they really haven't had to. But he makes big plays in the moment. So I would say he's consensus too. But I do want to open up the dialogue for these risers. And I know there's a guy you want to talk about, but Makai Lemon is just a steady riser for me because he does it all. You look at his alignment in the field, he's playing a pretty even snap of playing outside and in slot. They move him all over the field. So he's got that alignment versatility that I love to see. Move him all over. He catches everything. Yesterday, 9 targets, 9 catches. I think he's had 1 or 2 drops on the entire season. So he's just a steady, reliable chain mover. I think in PPR formats, he's going to be a beast next year. He's definitely locked in for a first round pick for me. The question is now, how high can he go? Because we've all considered he'd probably be a late first round. I'm starting to see if we keep this trajectory, Chev, I'm serious. He can make it at least top 15.
Listen, it's all going to depend on the testing with him. I mean, I believe he's 5'11", like 195, 196, somewhere in there. So it's all going to depend on the testing, the movement skill, everything. It's all there. Like Amon-Ra fell because he ran 4.66, and people, were just married to this 40 time and the thought that he couldn't the thought that he wasn't going to be able to, you know, compete as he was one of the highest rated prospects in the country coming out. Then he goes and has a decorated career at USC, and you know he's part of an NFL lineage. Like his older brother's already in the league, but yeah, it's really hard to project him being good at the next level. So with Mekhi Lemon, I think it just comes down to the testing. He passes all the eye tests, and like if you watch him play, just watch. I promise you, it's worth it to stay up. And you know, Pac-12 after dark, or I guess Big Ten after dark now. Like Big Ten after dark is worth it because we're going to talk about another guy from this game. Let's talk about your boy. Let's talk about Waymon Jordyn. I don't know. Look, if you're listening right now, this is a college football recap show. We're going to focus on the 26 guys first before we recap the rest of the day so that you guys can add them to your books of secrets because they're already in my book of secrets. If you're in the league with me, it's not getting past me. I promise you that. So talk about Waymon Jordyn real quick. And you can hit on Eli Sanders if you want to as well. No Diddy.
Okay. Hey, look, I'm gonna touch on him a little bit too, but Waymon Jordyn, man, he's a guy that I told you at the beginning of the year to watch for. Spencer, who's part of Devi Planet, one of my good friends, he and I have been singing the praises of Waymon Jordyn for a while. If you don't know anything about him, what you need to know is that he's a transfer from the JUCO level. So he transferred up now, and he got the starting job, and he just looks incredible, Chev. A couple times yesterday, there was a defender in the backfield, and he makes a little move to make a miss. He gets past the line of scrimmage. He's not going to fool over. He's hurdling him. He could do it all. The only thing that he doesn't have in his tool bag right now is elite breakaway speed. But that's okay because he has enough burst to get through the line and to break away. His breakaway numbers are pretty decent for a back of his size who you think would primarily run with power. But looking at his stats from yesterday, man, 18 rushes for 157 yards. That's good for 8.7 an average there. So, I mean, he does it all, man. I think he's an underrated pass catcher out of the backfield. And then you complement and pair him with a guy like Eli Sanders, who's just all speed. He's real shifty and kind of a speedy back. They complement each other well, man. And then, of course, what makes him dangerous is now you have my Polynesian prince there, Jayden Maiava, man. He's just running that offense, man, so smooth. And the growth that he's taken, I mean, we had a limited sample with him last season when he took over. And he just looks in full command of this offense. He's got the entire sideline jumping up and down. Just, you know, he's such a leader out there. And I think he's another guy that's probably a riser. I don't necessarily see him as like a round one guy, but I think a team would love to take a stab on Jayden Maiava in the second round.
I think that this is USC being back and having all these guys, because I do feel like after watching Waymon Jordyn the last couple of weeks, you brought him to my attention a couple of weeks ago. After watching him for a couple of weeks, I'm like, yeah, he's got it. And then I saw Eli Sanders last night. I was like, okay, this is a two-headed monster. Both of these guys, I think, are Sunday guys, probably more around that day 3 realm. But again, if USC is good and they ball out against good competition and make the playoffs and this is all a bunch of wish casting right now because we know the 2 wide receivers are pros. Jayden Maiava could be a pro, and then the 2 running backs could be something to keep your eye on. So that's just something, you know, this is just to get you some names to be familiar with going into the combine so that if these guys, like, you know what these guys have done on a football field, so don't let the athletic testing or their pro days be the first time that you've gotten any sort of familiarity with them. But spending almost 10 minutes on USC, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go to another Big Ten team. It still feels so weird to say they're in the Big Ten, but Washington took on Wazoo last night, and listen, belt to ass. I mean, this was a brutalizing. But the beautiful part about it is we got 2 of the top 2026 prospects that I still feel like not enough people are talking about in Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston. So you've been banging the drum for Jonah Coleman. A buddy of mine who's a big fan of the show has been banging the drum for Jonah Coleman. Jonah Coleman's play has been banging the drum for Jonah Coleman. Talk about how he's emerging as one of the best tailbacks, well, to the public, one of the best tailbacks in the country.
He's a guy that last year was incredible. Over 1,100 yards, I think 10 touchdowns. But he was a back who was 230 pounds. And this offseason, he really put in the effort to cut down to 222 pounds, 8% body fat. And look, if you've been paying attention, there's been a lot of serious buzz about him all throughout the offseason. All the beat reporters on 247 were saying how good he looked. He looked like he added some explosiveness to his game. But the big foreshadowing that they provided was they want to use him more in the passing game. And yesterday was truly the first time that we saw that. He had over 100 receiving yards yesterday. For a guy that's always been kind of known more as a power back, that was incredible. Taking screens and dump offs and things like that. He's always been able to do that. But now you see this added ability because he's got that explosiveness. He's still got that, like, for a bigger guy, he's got this wiggle and this juice to him, man. I described him as a bulldozer with ballerina feet at one time.
Bro,
because it's so smooth and it's just so fun to watch. He's knocking people over. He's making them miss. He's so much shiftier than you would anticipate. And then you complement that with a guy on the outside in Denzel Boston. Now, this is a guy that, admittedly, Chev, I didn't really have on my radar. I knew about him, but I wasn't sure about him as an NFL guy. Well, that's been put to bed now. I am 1,000% certain this guy is an NFL dude. He had, 2 touchdowns yesterday?
Denzel Boston, yeah. I think he was 6 for 107 and 2 yesterday. I was looking at the comment from Cambodian Milk.
Coleman has now made the 26. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really has. And I mean, I'm just so happy for him. If you've listened to any of my content, I've been high on Jonah Coleman for a while. So just loving to see this. But man, Denzel Boston is a guy that was so much fun to watch, dude, just attacking the ball at its highest point. I told you yesterday I like to use the phrase "ara" at the catch point. I initially used that to describe Cam Coleman, and man, he was making catches that looked like Cam Coleman yesterday. And I think, to speak to Cambodian Milk's point, that is also good for the 2026 class, because it's a class that we've said, it's a little down comparatively when you look at the depth of it. And now we're starting to see some of these guys rise. And while they may not be elite top tier wide receivers, I think they're going to have a role and they're going to do it well in the NFL. And I know that's kind of like your guy, right, Chev? These guys that their separation is their ability to attack the ball at its highest point.
Yeah, the separation occurs vertically, not horizontally. Like, I feel like I need to say pause for that also as well too. But anyway, like the thing with the guy, like so Casey has a weakness for guys who have like the jitterbug, like the crazy, like almost nightcrawler teleportation, lateral agility. I have a thing for dudes who just make 50-50 balls, 80-20 balls. Like that's my thing. It's like, I want a guy who I can throw it to in the boundary, and it's like, well, he put it in a spot to where only the 6'4" guy could get it, and it looks weird, but we're moving the chains. Or it looks weird, but we just put points on the board. So Denzel Boston is a player that, like, typically, like, kryptonite. I mean, you've known me for a while and how staunch I was about George Pickens. Like, nobody on the chat, like nobody that's a part of this show really knows in totality how serious I am about George, how good I think George Pickens is. But these are the types of guys that I get really excited about. But we can move on, because we spent a ton of time on the Pac-12, on the West Coast. Man. But let's move on to some guys that got off to slower starts, and then some guys that might be rising. Antonio Williams came back for Clemson yesterday. Clemson does fall to, Fran Brown, who is like the Jalen Hurts of quotes for college coaching now, apparently. I mean, I love Fran Brown, and every time they put a mic in front of him, I'm like, it's must-see TV. But they defeated Clemson yesterday. Sorry, Jay Wayne. But there's some good things that came out of this. Like, Antonio Williams is back. So why don't you kind of hit on some things that you saw in that Clemson and Syracuse game yesterday?
Yeah, for sure. I have to reiterate, man, I love Fran Brown too. I told you yesterday, man, I'd go to war for him. Talking about people poaching his players. He's like, look, I don't care. I ain't OB. Like, I'm gonna see you and I'm gonna say, what's up? I just love the candid nature. Like, he's so good, man. But Clemson, it's been rough to watch them to start this season. Pickens, yes, equals alpha. Absolutely agree, Tom. But Antonio Williams coming back, you can definitely see he's like the easy button for Cade Klubnik. He's the guy that he just knows he can get it to. And I think Klubnik has definitely missed him. But the guy that really caught my eye for 2026, man, was Adam Randall. And that's, of course, the running back. He was a former wide receiver there, and he converted to running back this season. A lot of us in the Devi streets were excited about the freshman Gideon Davidson potentially taking over because we didn't see much competition. And, man, you know what? This guy did nothing but earn legitimate buzz during fall camp and over the course of the offseason. And now you've really seen him take it to the gridiron, and he's been a lot of fun to watch. He had another big game yesterday, and this is like 3 weeks in a row where Clemson falls behind, and then they have to rely on Bryant Wesco and Adam Randall to bring them back. But the thing that I loved, man, is aside from the rushing, which he did incredible about, but there was a key play, I believe in the third quarter, for Clemson to start coming back, and he ran a little Texas route in the end zone, and he caught the touchdown, man. And I'm looking forward and projecting down to the NFL. I see him as like a day 3 guy, but I think he's one of those guys that if you're tracking, that could be tremendous value. We've seen recently in the NFL, these converted wide receivers to running backs have success, right? Talking about Tyrone Tracy, even your guy, Brashard. So
this to me, I'm a little bit more bullish on him because I think that, at 230 pounds and the type of physicality that he's displayed, consistently over the course of the last couple of weeks, I think that this is one that I've got firmly in the book of secrets, and I'm like, please just let him go somewhere where they have a role that needs filled with a guy who's physical and can catch passes. Because I think that he could step in. Now it remains to be seen, how he's going to test and do all that stuff. But I've seen enough now to say like, all right, cool, this is a Sunday guy, and we need to I've added him to the book of secrets for sure. For sure.
I can see it, man. I'm still a little hesitant. I think the testing is going to hold him back, but I have no doubt in my mind that he's an NFL guy right now. He's pretty fun.
So let's move on to another guy. We talked about Brashard Smith and SMU. Here recently, they lost yesterday to TCU. So you've brought him to my attention. I glanced at the UNC game at first, but TCU quarterback Josh Hoover. Tell us about Josh Hoover, what you've seen from him so far.
He's a guy that was one of my good friends put on my radar, and I hadn't really gotten much to watch him. I watched him, against UNC, which was a blowout to start the season. And then yesterday, and you even look at his PFF numbers, you know what? He gets the ball out quickly. He doesn't take sacks. He does a lot of those little things. But yesterday, what I was impressed with actually watching the game is he's so good at throwing on the run. There was a couple of instances where, he's rolling out of the pocket, evading pressure, and just throwing dimes along the sideline to his receivers. So, I mean, that's pretty fun to watch. I think he's got some mobility to his game too. And he just looks like a gamer to me. Like he's somebody that just goes out there, and when the game's on the line, when he needs to make a play, he's going to go out there and make it. So definitely watching him, and I'm going to track him more closely. I forget who they play next week, but I'm pretty sure he's got a pretty juicy matchup. But 621 yards already on the season, 6 touchdowns.
Oh, no, that's not including. So the screenshot did not include yesterday. So we're up to like 11 touchdowns now.
Okay, I was going to say because he had
like 1,000 yards,
5 touchdowns.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So playing incredible, man. I mean, he's just somebody that you have to watch now. And I can't remember. Tom, you're in the chat. Can you tell me, is he is eligible, right? Because he did red shirt. He was yesterday. I can't remember if he had red shirt before.
I'm gonna pull that up. But as we're working our way through the happenings yesterday, we had Auburn and Oklahoma basically in a knockdown drag-out fight. What were your takeaways? Obviously, we know the guys who were awesome were absolutely awesome. But what were some of your takeaways from watching that game yesterday?
John Material looks like him, man. I mean, he was struggling a little bit in that game. The whole offense was really struggling, made some mistakes. But when it was go time, right, when it was time to make a play and put their team ahead, he made it all happen with some good throws, running out of the pocket, and, of course, the rushing touchdown that really sealed it. So, I mean, did nothing but confirm what I already knew. But he's incredible, and he's looking like he could really push for quarterback 1 in this class.
Man, it's by the day it's becoming more and more clear. And then on the flip side, you had, the Ferrari that's parked underneath parked at a duplex in Cam Coleman.
Yes,
absolutely getting. I mean, this is, if you guys aren't familiar, this is a 2027 wide receiver. who I promise you, this guy is like George Pickens if the monsters weren't inside his brain telling him to do all the intrusive thoughts. So yeah, that was a really exciting game for me. I way more defense than I anticipated. Like Brent Venables and OU were absolutely getting after Jackson Arnold yesterday.
10 sacks.
10 sacks. Like, I don't know what I've never played quarterback in a real game. So I have no idea what it's like to just be back there and be like, hey man, I'm probably going to get hit. Like, there's nothing I could do about this, and still have to like stay on your square and deliver. So for me, that was, I guess the bigger question is Oklahoma for real?
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Do you think Oklahoma's favored in a game against Texas right now today?
I don't know what the lines would look like.
Red River
shootout. That's shootout,
Yeah.
man. We're going to call it the shootout still.
That's fine.
I think so. I think they got a really good defense. Now, they still haven't had a turnover. It's crazy for the amount of pressures and sacks that they have that they still don't have a turnover on defense. But I think that the problem with Arch, man, is he's in his head after playing OSU week 1. I think they kind of showed the game plan against him. Disguise your coverages on the back end, roll over coverages, send some pressure. And he's a little jittery right now. So I think they have the defense to keep that offense contained. Wide receivers for Texas too haven't really been separating that well against the upper level competition. They had another cupcake matchup and they played a little better, but so I would favor Oklahoma personally. I think that complementary as a team, they're just playing so much better than Texas right now. And then I have the utmost faith in John Mateer right now to just propel and elevate his teammates around him when the game is on the line. And I can't say that for Arch. Now, Arch is probably going to be fine long-term, but as of right now, I would put my stock in OU. I'm all in, man. I'm pushing my chips in, and I love that team right now.
Listen. I have no arguments against this whatsoever. I mean, my only pushback on what their ceiling could be is the fact that they don't have a reliable running game outside of John Mateer's legs, and that's starting to
you can't do that all season.
Yeah, that's starting to materialize, and I just he could. There's an element of magic to his game that's nothing's like Johnny Manziel, but there's an element of magic to his game that just makes you uncomfortable. It makes you also feel like nobody's going to. They're never out of a game, and they haven't been, but like it feels like they're never going to be out of a game with him at quarterback. So I don't know. It's a really strange case for me. So I should be all in, but I'm still a little bit trepidatious just because I don't know. I don't know if they got their run game outside of Mateer figured out.
They don't, and it's a legitimate concern, right? Of course, they brought in Jaden Ott. He was supposed to kind of be the guy, and he hasn't really done anything. To start the year, he was third on the depth chart, and probably due to injuries, not being able to really practice during fall camp. Last year, he had he was a highly touted recruit in Taylor Tatum, and you haven't seen these guys, and there's no real run game outside of Mateer, like you said. And it's a great point because if you continue to have your quarterback take those hits, obviously the wear and tear throughout the season, and we don't want to see anything happen to Mateer. So they do have to get that figured out. Yeah, it's a valid point, but I have so much faith in them that they're going to get it figured out.
I mean, it's just college football is so much better when Oklahoma and Texas and like the blue blood programs are good,
Oh yeah, for sure. What's before we, because I know we're running out of time, Chev, but we really need to touch on this guy, and that's Justice Haynes from Michigan.
Come on, talk about it.
I mean, so I've had a lot of people tell me that the 2026 running back class is a down one, and Chris and I, both from the Devi Dojo, my co-host, we have both said that we're much higher on this class. You got Jeremiah Love, Nick Singleton, Jonah Coleman, who we highlighted, and this guy, Justice Haynes. You're talking about a guy who went to Alabama, and he just, I don't know if it's the offense that Kalen DeBoer runs. I don't know, but him and Jam Miller just seem to be just mid, right? And so I did have some concerns. I said, look, Michigan's obviously going to have a good offensive line. It's probably going to look good. I didn't think that he would be as explosive as Isaac Brown on the season.
Right.
In 4 games, Justice Haynes has 3 rushes of over 50 yards for a touchdown, 309 yards after contact, 15 missed tackles on the season already. And yesterday he had another banger in a close game, 17 rushes, 149 yards for a touchdown and a 75-yard touchdown run. What is that, like back-to-back weeks where he's had a run like that?
This is his third touchdown of over 50 yards this season.
He's listed at 210, man, but he looks bigger than that. Maybe it's his frame.
I mean, he looks legitimate, man. Here's the thing: is like I did not see this in his profile at Alabama. Like he wasn't. I don't feel like he was doing this at Alabama on a regular basis.
Not on a regular basis.
Yeah, which is why he ends up in the portal. I liked Jam Miller a lot, but I just didn't. I was like, okay, Justice Haynes. Like, I had a buddy who's a big Oregon fan who was like, yeah, we're gonna, we'll get Justice Haynes hopefully out of the portal, and then he commits to Michigan, and I was like, but it's it's friendly for the running backs, blah, 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 blah. But he's exceeded my expectations. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I like what I've seen from Justice Haynes a lot. That's a great call out.
Yeah, we have to start talking about him. Now, the only thing in his profile, he provides almost nothing as a receiver, right? But when you have that you're that electrifying at that size, like the speed to power combo that he provides is so tantalizing. Scouts are gonna love that. Doesn't he just feels like a Baltimore Raven to me?
Oh my.
Like a guy that would just sit behind Derrick Henry and inevitably take over. Can you imagine that rushing attack? Derrick Henry, Justice Haynes, and Lamar Jackson. He just feels like a Raven to me. He just feels like that type of archetype that they look for. It is terrifying.
That is absolutely mortifying. I'm trying to get this. I wanted to move on to sharing the I got to give the tight end some love before we get out of here. I wanted to run through before we do that though. I wanted to kind of run through some 26 names that we've got that you need to start adding to your book of secrets. So we've talked about Jonah Coleman, we talked about Adam Randall, we've talked about Justice Haynes, Darius Taylor, running back for Minnesota, one of your favorites, is on a bye this week. Sawyer Robertson, Carson Beck.
All right, let's talk about
time there.
Yeah, go ahead. You tell me about Carson Beck, man, because it took me a little longer to come around.
Carson Beck, as he just mitted his way to a W last night against my Gators. Love that. Love to see it. But he's been playing with extreme decisiveness and confidence. Like he's believing what he's seeing and gripping it and ripping it. Whereas I feel like he was just afraid to not make a mistake at the University of Georgia. Like he just wasn't playing. He wasn't playing free. He wasn't playing with any sort of the confidence that you can very clearly see now. So Carson Beck, it's been really good to date. And the Florida, the Gators, it was a tough test. They relied on the run game. Mark Fletcher Jr. Shout out to Josh, who also I believe he has in our Debbie League, he has Justice Haynes and Mark Fletcher Jr. So shout out to you. I think he's playing his way back into like that because the other quarterbacks have been so mercurial. I think Carson Beck might be playing his way back into a day one pick.
I think so. You have to at this point. And, statistically, it didn't look the best yesterday, but that's an in-state rivalry. The Gators had their back against the wall, and they played him close. Like, they played him close throughout that entire game. But what I like from him, like you said, he's gripping it, ripping it. He's decisive. He's seeing it. But the offensive line is giving him time. And the receivers are catching the ball. That was his biggest knock. Not his knock, but that was his biggest issue last year.
Yes.
Georgia led the nation in drops, man. I mean, they just don't, simply put, they don't really recruit that type of talent on the outside. Now, they do have a freshman that I'm very, very high on in Taylor. So, I mean, eventually they're going to get that worked out for Georgia. But Carson Beck, dude, you have to talk about it. He looks pretty good. He's decisive. He's seen the field well. He's always had a decent enough arm, right?
Yeah, the talent's never been the problem. It was just he looked like year 4 Daniel Jones. Is just shell shocked and like not really. It's like, man, I'm gonna throw this, but I don't feel good about it. So that's what the biggest difference now. Now I want to talk about a guy. I want to talk about a guy at the quarterback position that I mentioned to you because I was like, I want to keep an eye on this. Like, this looks better. So I caught the I didn't tell. Hey, I know a Huncho
Carson.
comment.
Yeah, right.
I know a Huncho comment.
Yep, yep.
Huncho,
That's
you
our
can't
guy.
hide behind fourth and fantasy, brother. We know it's you. We know it's you.
Right.
But this is a guy I mentioned him to you. I think in week 0 or week 1, and he's consistently put it on tape for me. Every time I've seen him, it's looked really good. So I watched him against Auburn, then against SMU, and then last night against Arizona State. Sawyer Robertson. So now, I mean, he comes out last night, 250 and 3, 40, basically 39 attempts. Michael Trigg and Cameron 34, the receiver who wears number 34.
Mm-hmm.
They both had decent. Well, Trigg was incredible. Michael Trigg
was great.
Yeah, we need to, again, guys, Michael Trigg, named for the Book of Secrets, 6'4", 240-pound tight end, elite after the catch. Best, like a cheaper version of Eli Stowers is the way that I would describe this. Eli Stowers, Kenyon Sadiq, all those, like, this is turning into a low-key deep tight end class. I like what I'm seeing from this class a lot. So, hey, ignore me if you want to, but come February or March or April, whenever the draft is, you'll see.
Man, if Trigg becomes a thing, man, that's going to be so, like, I'm going to feel vindicated. That's a guy that I've been higher on than a lot of people because of his athletic build, man. He's a wide receiver out there. Legitimately, he's a wide receiver. He's a power slot.
Yes, and if you don't know who he is, just turn on a Baylor game and you'll figure out who he is very quickly. I know I'm asking you to watch Baylor football. Don't typically recommend that on a regular basis, but do it. I promise you, you won't regret it.
They're exciting. I like Baylor.
Where do you want to go next before we get out of here? Anybody you want to spotlight?
Let me look. You hit on Trigg. I do want to hit on a guy who had a bye this week, Kaytron Allen. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a guy that we both love. I don't know how much Penn State you've watched. They've had some cupcake matchups, but he looks explosive, man. And my co-host Chris is a Penn State alum. He's a fan. He said Kaytron Allen so far has looked like the better back over Nick Singleton to start the season.
That's not hard to believe, man.
Kaytron Allen's really good. He's always had great vision. He's been more of a kind of like, the power guy, but he has an explosiveness now to his game that we hadn't seen before. So I don't know if he trimmed down. I hadn't seen it, but did want to spotlight him. And then quickly before we get out of here, another quarterback, a guy that I was higher on to start the season when I went on the 2 Guys 1 Pod episode with you, and we talked about college early in the offseason. Dante Moore was a guy that I spotlighted who I believed in, right? Obviously had the tough time at UCLA, went back to Oregon, sat for a year. Now he's playing. And look, it's cupcake matchups, but the dude's played incredible. Over 900 yards. I believe he has yet to throw a pick or maybe 1 pick, but he's taking care of the ball. He had 3 big-time throws in just yesterday's game. He's looking lights out, man. He's another guy that his stock has rose tremendously. While Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, and those guys have fallen, you've seen risers like Morrre, Beck, and now Dante Moore, right? He's got an incredible freshman phenom that he's thrown to the outside into Corian Moore. Ducks look really good, man. So we're going to see them in Penn State in week 4. That highlights one of the matchups that I'm going to be looking at for sure.
Oh, I'm super excited to get that matchup because I want to see who's for real and who's not. Because Aller and, this will be Aller and Dante Moore. Everybody wants Aller to be the QB1, but we've never seen him, really deliver on that promise as one of the highest rated recruits of all time and potentially one of the top quarterback prospects in this 2026 draft. There's one guy I want to hit on before we get out of here, and that is Robert Henry Jr. from UTSA. Robert Henry Jr., 5'9", 205. Yeah, put up a $144 and 3 touchdowns last night in the win over Colorado State. Yeah. Oof. Oh, yeah. IU football looking good. Yeah. So I'll definitely feature him more. I want to give some names, some group of 5 guys that maybe you should keep your eye on. So if you guys have any suggestions as far as that goes, please let me know. Yeah, go Roadrunners for sure. My buddy, one of my best friends is the associate head coach at UTSA. So there will be only pro UTSA propaganda shared on this here show. But before we get out of here, I wanted to let you know that this show is sponsored by ProfitX. ProfitX is the #1 sports prediction market in the entire world. So ProfitX, you can go on, you can sign up, you add your friends, and you can make plays against each other and have someone take the opposite of your action, and you get the best odds on the market because you eliminate the house. So sign up for ProfitX today using promo code FFD and get up to $200 back over your first 30 days using the app. The more you play, the more chances you have to earn cash back. So sign up for ProfitX using promo code FFD. Now, Dustin, we always say that we're going to keep it short, and then it's never short as we plan on doing.
Right.
Man, I appreciate you. Before we get out, tell everybody where we can find your work.
Yeah, go over to my Twitter at Empire Elite FF. I do have a link tree there with everything that I'm working on. Link to the podcast and everything there. So just check me out on Twitter and you'll find what we got going on.
And as always, you know where you can find me, where the ball knowers are. I am Chef Dor Sanders, aka Chef GPT. You follow me on the Twitter X. If you want to follow me right now, I'm about to hop into the redraft streets and do some start sits and injury reports with our buddy Britannica Benjamin McCown. So until next time, guys, we'll see you.